Sweet.
Yep.
Cool.
No county in, Scott.
We're now live. And
We're
we're
right.
live.
All right,
And
awesome.
So we had a little snafu with the setup because Matt forgot he has daylight savings time. It happens. It happens every year, and about that time, it's confusing.
Now I've got to rearrange my whole work diary for the coming weeks. So that's
and you're catching some people off guard, because some people are like, "Oh, they're live," but we're like,
well,
we're like
I
7
say
minutes
I
early.
have to, but I'm going to direct someone else to rearrange it for me. So it's really not that big a deal.
Absolutely. Hey, so I haven't been following. I'm one of the, obviously for those listening and those getting ready to listen, we do want to talk about Clash of Kings 2022. I haven't really followed that much. I'm hoping I was at the Michigan GT, so that was my focus for the weekend. Did you follow it, Matt? Did you?
Oh, the tournament. I always get confused whether we're talking about the book or the
Well, there's so many cocks. I get it.
Yeah, I know.
I get it.
I know. I followed it a little bit. So a Spaniard took it out. There seemed to be a lot of international players this year, actually.
Is that a result because it was in London and it's more accessible? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know, because there was also like concurrent English tournaments going on at the same time.
Yeah, I saw Dan and Jan Struthers, I think, at like
Yeah.
a different. But to be fair, maybe they couldn't make it down to London's. A little bit of. I don't know.
I don't think it's the most accessible place, right? Kind of like
within the
most
country,
major cities.
Within the country, right? Yeah. I think if you're flying in, you can just there and probably take public transit. But like to get to London, I'm sure it's like New York City, right? I would assume. Have you been to London, Scott?
No, I've never been over the other side of the pond, man.
We need to probably introduce our guests.
Yeah.
So Scott,
he's interesting looking, isn't he?
He is very
yeah. I don't have a camera, so I just grabbed a random picture of.
No, he actually does. He just doesn't. He just he's naked. He's sitting in his chair.
Yeah. That's
well, Scott, why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, from the waist down.
Why don't you introduce yourself to the Counter Charge audience?
All right. Well, I'm Scott Schlichter. I'm out of the Detroit area. I've been playing Kings of War for about 2 years and just kind of slowly building a Southeast Michigan team.
Yeah, it's been growing. Last year was your first Michigan GT, and then this is your second. And each year you've brought more and more people into the fold.
Yeah, and
so the scene's growing, Scott?
Yeah. I feel like we were consistently at least, talking to each other. So that works.
That's a start.
Yeah, if it wasn't for construction, we'd probably play more, to be honest.
Michigan. I was, I don't know about you, Scott, but it was a chore to get around the city of Lansing. By the way, for our international listeners, Lansing, the place it was held, Detroit, the city that Scott's from, is in the state of Michigan. It's the one that's shaped like a mitten, if you look, and very far up on the continental United States. So if you have questions, there it is. It's Michigan. So
just commit to the mitt.
That's right. But yeah, fantastic. But back to Clash of Kings, like what?
Well, not only is Spaniards, so not even homegrown, but also elves won.
Regular elves.
Really? And I did see the list on the. I'm going to bring up the elf page and see if I can find it. I know it had 3 unit of Gladestalkers, so that won't be possible next year. Not the same list anyway, because they've gone up a little bit.
Yep, 10 points.
It had that. It was not. It struck me as not unlike a Keith Randall list, except I'm pretty sure it had Tydarion.
The guy with the table? Is that the guy? No. Which guy is that?
So he's the special dragon character.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I don't think.
What the hell is the elf group called?
I don't know. Let's look it up. Well, I mean, I play elves because I have
elves of Mantica.
Yeah, I have elves. I have self-respect. I'm not gonna play.
All right, here we go. I've got the list.
All right.
So we had.
Do you want to bring it up on your screen?
Yeah, I can do that.
Share it with the audience. Yeah.
Yeah. You're such a smart guy.
Well, I made it home, so that's good at least.
Yeah. All right. Let's just hope nothing incriminating pops up at the same time. Yeah. So we've got 3 units of Gladestalkers, a horde of Sea Guard. So fair bit of shooting in those 4 units.
A horde of Sea Guard? No one takes that, do they?
I think they do if you want the combined shooting, because it's still 5s, which is not like comparatively.
Aren't they super expensive? Wouldn't you rather? Well, I mean, it's got the phalanx, right?
260, not too bad.
That's a lot, dude. How much is a horde of archers?
Yeah.
I mean,
less.
220, 210? I don't know.
Less, but I guess they don't do everything.
But don't you want them to do one thing and do it really, really well?
Well, like you said, I think.
Well, I mean, I guess I'm answering my own question.
Often, what are you running into a horde usually to stop it shooting? So, yeah. So I think, yeah, Spanish guy here and a friend of Javier.
Awesome, fantastic.
Yeah, and he's saying so. I'm not going to try and I'm going to call him Joe. So Joe is.
I'm not even going to try.
Yeah. Joe is saying a horde of Seaguard, and I can see why that would be popular, actually. And then so we've got the Regiment of Stormwind with Makwar's Potion of the Caterpillar, which also may not be there.
Gone.
Upgraded to Quicksilver Lancers. Drakon Raiders with Boots of Striding, a Lord on Drakon with the Staying Stone, an Archmage with Lightning Bolt. Where's the end of it? And another Elven Archmage with Boots of Levitation and Alchemist Curse, and Tidarian Dragonlord, which I honestly have never. I think I might have only seen on the table once. Argus Rodnar, which I love, and Animue. So interesting list. Interesting. Yeah. I think it's got a fair bit of heavy shooting in that early game, and then I guess my thoughts with this is probably the tactics are enough shooting to have to draw someone in, and then you counterpunch with the dragon and the Drakons and the Quicksilver Lancers, which is an awesome upgrade. Like if you're only going to take one unit, you take Quicksilvers every day of the week.
Right, and you could probably put the Seaguard Horde on a flank or something because Phalanx is a big deal against situationally can be a very big deal against cavalry and flying units. Which there's a lot of there's quite a bit of that out there. So interesting.
Well, it's interesting with elves too, because I am literally for the first time ever getting rid of an army, and it's probably going to be elves.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say I thought you were going to say I'm on the elf bandwagon and I'm going to build the list. I was like, no, man, come on.
And I like one of the reasons is I still like my elves, but they're like GW models, so now I'm ditching them. And I'll either, if Mantic at some point re-release, which I don't know if they'll do soon, I think I might just print new ones because I just want to get GW out of my life.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that was the winning list. So I think it's obviously one that would take great skill to play.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an auto win list. I saw some people saying, "What? No Night Stalkers in the top 10?" But
I don't think that list exists. That army list exists, Michael.
No, mate. Yeah, you got to be able to think straight. So I think obviously needs to be played well. No Night Stalkers, but from memory, I don't think the full lists are floating around somewhere. I don't think there were some. I don't think they were.
How many players did they end up having? Do you know off the top?
Last I saw, it was meant to be 70.
So it's down than before, right? It wasn't usually around 100.
Yeah, look, I would say probably being at a convention limited them.
Oh yeah, for sure. It probably costs more to get in, right? Their contribution to the convention probably made things go up a little bit. And I know Scott and I can speak to that. I mean, Michigan GT is in the convention, and its entry fee is higher than you would normally see at a standalone event.
Yeah, and it's the same with being at CanCon. Like we've been choosing to run off-site but nearby. For the same reason, we then don't get our tickets limited. We do it cheaper, and people can still visit if they want to. There's the argument, and we've had some argument recently that Kings loses a bit by not being visible. But in the 6 years or whatever I've run it, I reckon we've picked up 3 players by being at a convention. So I'm not convinced.
And if they're Australian, does that mean they're worth is that actually 2 in American, or is that?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. What about Michigan GT? What came top there?
The herd, right?
Oh,
yeah. Well, for top, the herd at the top.
The herd, yeah. That's what. God darn it, Chris Capser took it out.
Oh yeah.
Right. Did he? Right? Yeah. Okay. That's a return to the winning circle for him after quite a.
Yeah. Oh, I was a trampoline on his way to the podium. So. I haven't been raffle stomped like that since Bug Eater, so it was pretty good.
Really?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Well, you know what? Let's maybe I'll touch on mine, but let's turn it over to Scott. What
All right.
Give us a little background. I mean, this is your second one. Give us a little history of you and Kings of War, and you know what tournaments you've hit, and then we'll talk. You know, and then we'll dive into the Michigan GT, and you can tell us about your experience.
Well, I started playing war games. I mean, really young. I think my dad came home when I was like 9 or 8 with a Warhammer starter box, and it just never stopped from there. I've had plenty of armies, orcs, high elves, you know, you name it. Once they, I guess, like I feel like we all have this experience. Once GW nuked the game, I just wanted something else. And then, you know, Matt, I also got rid of my elves at 1.2, and then I just saw Kings of War and just wanted to jump in. So I think like maybe like before last year's GT, like 3, maybe 2 months before that is when I just decided to buy all these books and then, you know, just start slowly building an undead army. Kind of cranked it out and then just jumped in and then kind of met a bunch of cool guys.
Yeah, nice. And do you play other games, Scott, or this is your main game?
So I'll probably kind of main ship Kings of War or at least Mantic stuff. I'm really into that Warpath universe. Brian Novak's my neighbor here, so I can play Dead Zone whenever I want. But I play everything under the sun. I like board games. Not too much of a video game guy. I kind of, you know, stay unplugged for the most part.
Yeah. Cool. Yep. Hey, Rob, I just came across something that might interest our viewers, actually. I'm going to share screen again.
Yeah, I like interesting.
There's been some whispers of this, but I'm going to get you to look at the red banner here.
I can't. Let me make it a little bigger here.
So TWW will be discontinued in November 22.
Okay.
And the tools you know and love will be moved to form part of the spanking new Mantic Companion app.
I don't like this project. I don't like this website. I prefer Easy Army, but whatever. You know. So as long if Easy Army continues, I'll just continue with Easy Army. You know, and if it doesn't, then you know, I guess I'll have to use it. But
yeah, I think I've only been on TWW once before, but I also prefer Easy Army.
Well, for me, it's just like I want to use the software that's legit and it is giving back some percentage.
Well, what I would
Mantic,
say that
right?
is if it's forming part of the Mantic Companion app, that is probably what it
will
that's
be. True. Yeah, that's true. Yep. That's true. If it becomes part of the app, we don't really have my guess is if it's becoming part of the app, we probably don't have a choice either, right?
Yeah, my I would be surprised if medium term that both continue to exist. Yeah. So my understanding though is internally there's, you know, feedback is taken on. So doesn't mean how it looks now is going to be how it continues to look. Also, I imagine if they get enough subscribers, so user interface is usually one of the, you know, big expense items of a number of these things. So with a bit of money from subscriptions, then you never know.
I do wonder though, they keep saying app. Don't they just mean a link to a website? Like isn't it right?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if
it's not an actual app like that you download on your phone and you can work offline. Like you know, I'm assuming it's just going to send you to the website, a website of some sort. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm not entirely sure, but maybe we can squeeze Ronnie on that. So for those of you that haven't seen so far, we're going to get Ronnie on next week. So he's going to
we'll have a post.
He's going to come and do some leaks.
Make sure you get the questions. He's been he's promised to spill beans. Let's be honest. But let's go back to Scott. So Scott, so obviously you've been playing a lot of hot and heavy sci-fi action with Brian Novak. And for those who know Brian, he number one is the nicest guy in the Mantic community, like literally the nicest person on the planet. This is like he's getting ready to leave. He just comes up and says, "Hey Rob, did you have a good weekend? Great. Just wanted to check in on you. I'm getting ready to leave, but you know, I had a great time." I'm like, dude.
Yeah,
thanks.
He's super nice.
But he wasn't playing Kings of War. But you know, he's just that guy. He just wants to.
He was just demoing and then just running Dead Zone and just talking to everybody. Like he's was just
super nice guy. But he wrote Dead Zone the podcast. Him and Rick are the Dead Zone podcast guys. So, but sorry, I didn't mean to hijack
no,
Scott.
All right. No, it's cool. It's cool. So at the GT, you know, I also played Dead Zone as well. And it actually, the Kings of War bled over into Dead Zone, so they had to be patient with me to actually run over to the other side of the room and get into Dead Zone.
Did you? Well, let me ask you this question, short and sweet. Are you better at Dead Zone or at Kings of War? Because I know how you are at Kings of War.
Oh man, I I'm not good at any game I play, man. I just play just to have fun.
So to be fair, you're new and you're still learning, right? Still learning the ropes. We'll get you there. Don't worry.
It's like
we'll get you there.
With Kings of War, it's like, I understand the rules. There's almost never any issues with like there's no ifs or buts. It's just like, hey, we play. But man, some people just crank out awesome stuff. I never have a good response to anything.
Exactly.
I think there's certain people whose brains just work really well at movement, right? And I think, and who just can naturally, who can naturally just see a couple of turns ahead. I'm not one of them. I also don't care enough to try and do it, to try and change. I'm prepared to maybe get slightly better just by playing games, but I'm never going to. I mean, there's the old Chris Katz move, isn't there? Which is deploying in your basement blind on your own.
Do it multiple times. Work on it. Look, this goes here. This goes here. No, that's not the way to go. Lay it back out. Check it out. Check your measurements. I mean, I've seen it firsthand twice. And I've been on the.
And look, I got nothing against that at all. Like, I think that's cool. But it's just the way I will never play the game that way.
So what do you mean by blind? Like, he turns the lights off and just puts everything down?
Well, he's not playing a game. He just actually physically sets up the army multiple times over and over again.
So just comes up with ideas.
Yep, and then eventually
how he thinks he's going to deploy it. So I think his idea is probably he does it for different scenarios, maybe for different styles of armies, but it's mostly, if I deploy this way, is this what I want for this kind of terrain in this scenario? Yeah,
that's sweet. That's discipline for sure.
Yeah, discipline. I don't have any of that, Scott. So keep rolling.
All right. Well, like literally with some dice.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say this is after the GT. I feel like there was definitely some recognizable faces from last year, and it is just the warmest thing. Everyone just comes up, it's like, hey, I recognized you. I don't remember your name. And we shake hands, and then, people say, hey, do you mind if I give you criticism? Then we go over our games that we played with last time, and I don't know. It's just overall just an awesome thing. I just feel like everyone's there to have fun. Everyone's there to enjoy themselves, and I think that's kind of unique compared to other games. Is from my experience.
Yeah, got a question though. What was one piece of improvement suggestion that someone gave you over the weekend that you took on?
Well, I think the biggest advice from like a list standpoint, he said, "Hey, you need to combine your whites into hordes. Don't run any regiments." That was
that Dylan? Who gave you that?
It was Jeff Franz that told me, "Hey, you need to combine these together." And then, honestly, even just like playing, even against like Dylan was like telling me all this ways to actually deploy. And I feel like I got better throughout the tournament. I ended up winning twice. So compared to last year, I don't think I won once. So I'll take that.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, what's interesting is, you started off with your first game against Dylan Scribner, who is perennially in the top 10 in the South. He's a really good player.
Yeah.
And he was my mate, my buddy that rode up with me. So he's a great player. I have not beat him yet, but he's got an ass kicking in this future because if it takes a gun line to do it, I'm going to do it. But he has no self restraint. He'll take what he needs to take to win.
He was giving me good advice too, just at the end, and just overall, just like a friendly guy. But I told him, hey man, the only way I can learn is through losing. So just bring it on.
Yeah. So maybe just touch on your games. How'd they go?
Well, so the first two games I lost. So it was against Dylan's I think Silvakin's what he brought. And he had this front line where he was able to kind of bait me in, and I kind of saw it at first, but then he did something without really even moving. It's almost like a psyche thing where I had to split my force. And then he just one by one took each side off and then gave me advice from there.
Well, he had 3 Treemen, let's be honest.
Yeah, and those came all the way down.
He had multiple Gladestalkers. He had some Knights, and I think he had at least 1 Dragon. So, it's not like he was playing with a pillow.
Yeah, and he was running that Dragon as an air elemental, and that
I see.
That thing's sweet. I mean, that was it could do whatever it wants. It just whenever he just kept it behind his line, and then when I moved up, he just responded with it by just jumping over. The second game I was against Abyssals. First time I ever played against Abyssals.
So that'd be Matthew Temple, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Matthew Temple, super nice guy. He just
awesome
tortured soul spam, and it was really cool. I was actually like, man, I want to do a list like that. It was pretty cool. He just gets to contain me, plug me up with all the tortured souls, and then kind of go from there. And then the third game was against one of my buddies, Jason, and I actually won with that one, but it was close. And he was just running ogres, so he just has like some siege breakers.
Oh, is that Jason? Not Jason Blake. What was his name?
It was Jason Black.
Black. I was close. I was close.
Yeah, it is close. Yeah, and actually, the story with him is cool because I posted after last GT on Reddit. I said, "Hey, anyone in the Metro Detroit area, this is my, let's play. This is what I can meet. This is where I'm at in that side of town." And then like 8 months later, he like commented on it. Hey, are you still playing? So that's how we met, and so. I thought that was kind of cool being able to see that we went from just kind of awkwardly meeting in a little area just to actually becoming good friends and then going to the GT. So that's how the first day ended.
Well, what's really interesting. Yeah. Let me add a little segue here. You are a unique Kings of War player in that you do not use Facebook. So all of your communication is through like Reddit and the Kings of War forum and Discord. So like, how do you find that? Do you find like, do you have a hard time getting the current information, or you just don't care? Or I'm just curious, like, because it feels like, I don't know, Matt, maybe you chime in. It feels like everything's on Facebook, which I'm not a fan of Facebook either, but that just happens to be where everything is, and so we're sort of there, right? And you're using all these alternative avenues, and I'm just curious, do you feel like it's working?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm an extrovert, at heart, so I will get your phone number and just talk to you if I need to. I just call, but I love alternative options, and I think Facebook's super useful. I'm not saying don't use it, but I just feel like there's just enough with Discord, honestly, to get really anything done at this point. Like for any game I want to play, there's a Discord for it, or any like game store, at least around here in Metro Detroit, has a Discord. So I just meet people through that. I've never found too much of an issue. And honestly, I'm kind of old school too. I like email. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I use email all day. So I don't think I've ever really ran into any issues. Even when I moved out of state, I mean, I still was able to get in touch with people, no problem.
Awesome.
I think kind of Facebook really took over from the old forum, didn't it? But just a very much less well organized forum. It was interesting to see the fall of the forum into Facebook, but there are certainly people that don't use it. So I mean, I personally find that there's just so much. I try not to get too involved in the Discord because it's just another platform for me to try and keep on top of. I think you're the same, aren't you, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I am trying to be better at like getting on the forum. And I hate to say it, even our own Discord, I get on, I do lurk, but like, gosh, there's just so many conversations happening. And then don't get me started on all the Facebook Messenger groups. It's like, oh my gosh. If you actually interact in all these ways, you'll never get anything done in your life.
Too much,
particularly getting your models painted, which ultimately we got to do.
Yeah, well, I think like eventually, like this is just kind of how I feel about like social media in general. Like it gets so big to a point where, like what you're saying, there's way too much noise that I think like it will fraction off. People will make their own, War Gamers Facebook, or Board Gamers Facebook, or something like that. That I could see like 10, 20 years down the line that becoming a thing.
Well, I think you're an IT guy, right?
You're an IT guy, right? I'm a network technician for a copier dealership. I don't do anything too crazy, but yeah, I guess I kind of understand how that works.
Yeah. So maybe you could, roll around your head and you can take it on. We can put you in touch with Mantic, maybe make a real thing,
my dad's a pretty seasoned web developer. I mean, we could. It's actually possible.
Networking 101.
Yeah, that's it.
I tell you what you should get him to do. That do you remember, Rob, essentially I assume it failed, but what was going to be the online campaign tool? Mm-hmm. How good would an online random generating hex campaign tool be?
Oh, amazing.
So good.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do that, just with paper. Just a hex grid of just wargaming campaigns.
Saturday night, what'd you do, Scott? Did you go with the group to the barbecue place, or
no? Well, Dead Zone was right after that, as I was saying earlier.
Oh, you had to play Dead Zone. Wow,
yeah, well, it was a ton of fun. I actually got best painted, which made me feel pretty good. I I don't know how well I really did. I didn't see any postings for like the stats.
Usually, if they don't tell you, that's a bad sign.
Yeah. Well, I think I only won one game, and that was against a new guy, but he was super cool, and I was able just to just make new friends.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So yeah, I should mention Saturday night a bunch of us went to a local barbecue place in Lansing called Meats, which for those that are in the United States, it's been on Diners, Drive-In and Dives, so it's like it's a hipster place. Yeah, it's a hipster place. Let's be honest.
Hey, that's okay.
But I will say, I'm from Memphis, so like I eat pulled pork like once a week at least. And look at me. Obviously, I eat like a lot of meat, right? Like, come on. So I was like, well, I'm not gonna get the pulled pork because it'll probably or ribs because it'll be a letdown. So I got the brisket, which is something we don't really do in Memphis. It was good, but I will say, and I wish Dylan was on with me because. So I ordered some sides, and I got spicy creamed corn, okay, and then I got baked beans and mac and cheese. Actually, I've only ordered 2, but they gave me 3 because I'm just that cool.
Sounds like a good time.
Dude, the baked beans and the mac and cheese were so flippin' hot. I was like, and I know Donnie's on going, it's not hot. Look, for me, like I'm like, I don't eat spicy. Spicy.
Oh, okay.
And I don't eat spicy food. And so then when they finally brought me out the cream corn, I'm like, well, I don't know if I want to eat this because it literally says spicy in the title. And I've already didn't like what they did when it didn't say it. And yes, they doubled down on the hot sauce in the freaking cream corn. So, but lesson learned. Next year I'll get coleslaw and like apple cobbler. Something I don't think they'll put hot sauce in.
Lansing's got good food options. There's a ton of awesome restaurants, just even around the convention center.
Absolutely. Well, I should say, and maybe you can talk to it too as well. It's a little bit of a pricey event. It was like $80, $85. I can't remember exactly, but
yeah, I think it's $80.
Part of a convention, and it's in a nice. It's not in a shitty convention center. It's in a nice convention center, right? Like we all know the difference. The ones you walk into that smell moldy. That's not this, right? Like this one's right on the river, right down. It's 2 blocks from the Capitol. It's like. It's legit, and you pay for it. And I don't know about you, but the amenities, they had decent food in the at the establishment. Had a lot of extra stuff you could pick up, and maybe you speak to it a little bit. Lansing Center, which was a great venue.
Yeah, it's super nice. I mean, it is kind of cool. Like you walk out. I guess I don't know which direction it would be, but you walk out like those main doors because I think you're only allowed in one. But yeah, the Capitol building is right there, and it's got that cool, old school architecture. But yeah, I thought the concessions were tasty, and I'm really happy that they brought in a guy for roasted almonds, cinnamon almonds.
Oh my god,
that just made it smell so good.
It was so ridiculous, so ridiculous. It was.
Yeah, I smashed those.
It was unfreaking real, right? It was just so tasty. But yeah, so it was. I mean, the venue itself you said it's very nice, but like to your point too, you're in a nice little city that's I don't know the population. What's the population of Lansing? Maybe 200,000, 300,000. I don't know. I haven't lived there.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, it's not a huge
more,
city.
To be honest.
Yeah, but it's not a million. I know that because it's the third largest city in the state of Michigan. Be Detroit and Grand Rapids.
Right.
But it's yeah, I don't know. It was pretty awesome. I really enjoyed it. In fact, I'll show you a picture here.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's not like a seedy part of town. It's not like a place where you're not sure where to go. Like all you got to do is just walk. You don't need to get back in your car. You just park once, and then everything is just within walking distance.
So Lansing's the state capital of this of Michigan, obviously. So this is like 2 blocks away. And there's a lot of buildings like that are very old and very ornamental and stuff. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Cool. So it's a really, really nice little thing. But and the venue itself sits on a river, which is awesome. And now, I will say construction was a big deal this year.
Yeah. Even the sidewalks were closed.
Even the sidewalks, and because the hotel that everybody's staying at is on the other side of the river.
Right.
And there's a walkway.
Skywalk. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm interrupting.
There's a skywalk. Yeah. No. There's a skywalk across the river, and it was closed.
Yeah.
So.
I was super bummed.
And
somebody said it's 2,000. Yeah. Go ahead.
Have you heard anything, Scott, moving forward with your gaming that entices you about the new book? Have you heard any whispers that interest you?
So the only thing that I really got to see is actually that my Soul Reavers are getting nerfed. That's the only thing that I really dove into, but I didn't get really a chance to really dive into all the armies. But either way, I'm gonna pick up the book. I mean,
shout out to Mantic. Yeah, shout out to Mantic. They did give the TO of the event a digital copy and was able, was able to share that with the folks. You know, let them look at it during the weekend. So obviously they were selling it at Clash of Kings. We couldn't buy it at Michigan GT, but they did their best to like, hey, we know it's out. We know people are getting it. Here, why don't you take a look? So that was cool.
Just being able to cruise through that book. I mean, I don't know about any whispers that I've been hearing. I just just brace for impact, and then once it's out, I'm a PDF guy.
Well, it's probably because you're not on Facebook, mate. There's no whispers if you're not on Facebook.
right, yeah.
That's funny. That's funny.
But
well, how'd you? Go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was just say how. So obviously, 1 and 2 at the end of day 1.
So no, it would be 1-1 lost 2, so 1 and 2, and then
so obviously Sunday you win them both, and you finish.
No, I had a really really close draw, and then I won 1. In fact, that was with your mom's neighbor. I was
all right, yeah. So let's tell that story because I don't know who's all heard it. So like everyone's and Matt, this is just another example of like. I don't know. Does that mean that the scene is getting bigger or what? I don't know. It's bizarre. But I'm talking to a new player named Daniel, and he came last year, right, Scott, and was watching the event, I think, and was like, "Hey, this looks really awesome. I'm going to get into this."
No, he was in the event, actually.
Oh, he was? Okay.
Yeah, he played.
It was Nathaniel that was watching last year.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Okay.
And
so he was in the event last year. I didn't meet him last year, unfortunately. But he came back this year. And at the end of the event, I don't know what, you know me, Matt. I'm just like, I'm an extrovert. I'm like, I don't know this guy very well. I know he's from Lansing. I got to go introduce myself. This is what I got to do. So maybe give him some stickers. So I walk over and I'm like, hey, Daniel, hey, how was your weekend? We chit-chat a little bit. I said, I know you're from Lansing. And he's like, yeah. I said, well, what? And I'm from Lansing. I mean, I lived here until I was like 22. I was like, I'm, no way around
still
Lansing
4 decades ago, but yeah, anyway, yeah.
It's true, but it's not funny. I mean, I am going to be 50 in a couple years. But anyways, you digressed. So I will get us back on topic. So I'm talking to Daniel and said, well, what part? And he said, well, I live in the southwest side of Lansing. Now, what's interesting, I don't know about you, Scott. You're from the suburbs of Detroit. Lansing is a very small town, very small. Like to the point where when I leave my house to go to the War Room in Memphis, in Cordova, from where I live, it's like a 20-minute drive. In 10 minutes, I can be from my mom's house, which is the extreme end of Lansing, to downtown. Like,
right.
And that's navigating construction. So he says, I live in the southwest part of Lansing. I said, well, that's crazy. That's crazy. My mom lives in the southwest part. And then he's looking at me and I'm like, well, they live in the Waverly and Holmes area. I'm like, you know where that is, right? This is kind of a major intersection. He's like, yeah, I know exactly where it is because I live there too. And then I was like, well, let's see if we can, maybe you live like kind of close. She lives in the Riverside, subdivision. And he's like, I live in the Riverside subdivision. So at this point, I'm like, this is freaking crazy. This guy's living in the same subdivision as my mom, right? I'm like, crazy, right? Well, so then I said, well, she lives on Thacken Drive. And so I said, when you come down, baby, blah, 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 it's their house. His eyes got like real big. He's like, I live on Thacken Drive. And I'm like, okay. I said, my mom is the third house on the right with the white house, white brick with the. He's like, I live across the street. and I'm like, wait, is it the White House with the? Yeah. I'm like, so you bought that from? And I mean, the previous owners are like family friends of ours. So long story short, I know it's got a finished basement. I've played in ping pong in it a ton of times. He said he's got a Kings of War table. My Christmas is locked in, baby. I'm bringing armies. We're going, and I'm saying, Mom, going across the street. I'm gonna be back in about 4 or 5 hours. I'll see you later. I'm gonna go across the street and play some Kings of War. So
that's awesome.
Small world, man. Like that's probably one of the strangest things that's ever happened to me before. Because not only does he live like by my mom, but like he literally bought a house that I've been in and I know the background and stuff on it. So it's weird, but
yeah, it is awesome.
I don't know. But anyways, that was my story. Scott, regale us on that terrific day 2 that you had.
So day 2, going back to that battle with Daniel, he brought his Trident Realm. And I don't know how to pronounce it, Gigas or Gigas. How do you pronounce?
You know what,
crab,
Matt, we have a English expert on the show.
Oh, wow.
Pronunciation is his forte. So Matt, how do you
it is absolutely not. But I would go with Gigas.
That's
and why?
Okay.
I do not know.
Okay, but
yeah.
Like phonetically, Gigas.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, they're really cool. I'm surprised they don't get some cool like sidestep crab walk ability.
That would be amazing.
There. Yeah, I thought that was kind of a neat thing. We both were saying that, but anyway, it was what's the game mode? Dominate with the 4 or 6 squares. That's like
control.
My favorite one. Control. That's my favorite one, really. And so it was just immediately every round 2, every single unit is in combat except for our spellcasters, and I just trying to push these crabs back. He's pushing my whites back, and nothing's dying, everything's staying put. And then long story short, we basically I time out actually. So dice down. It was round 6, so we roll, game's done, and we start doing attrition. It's a tied game, but the attrition was only 10 points of a difference. It was so close. It was the closest game I think I've ever done in war gaming in my entire life. It was really fun. Awesome. Yeah, that was my highlight, despite it, not giving me a lot of tournament points.
Right.
And then lastly, I played with a gentleman out of Battle Creek named Mike Hodgman, who brought his Night Stalkers, and they were like the coolest looking army. And it was a very close match, but I ended up winning through. My little bit of drain life came in clutch, and I ended up controlling.
Well, I heard Matt's not a very good player. It was Matt you played, right?
No, I played his brother Mike.
Oh, you played Mike. Sorry, it's Mike. So Matt's the better of the 2 players. So we had 2 sets of brothers there, Marshall and Matthew, and then Matt and Mike. Not to be confused, because there's 2 sets of M brothers. Yeah. But no, from what I understand, Mike's not very good at the game. He's still learning. So I'm joking, obviously. He's played for a while, but I think he rushed this army to get it finished. And I don't know how much time he's actually had it on the table. So so it's good. You finished the game on a win. That's a high note, right? That's like, yeah.
Yeah, it made me feel pretty good. I was like, yeah, I have definitely grown since last year.
I'm curious, though, how in the world did you not win Countercharger if it's 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw? If that's not mediocre, I don't know what is.
Well, who did win that? Was that Matthew Temple? Did he win that? The Countercharger?
I think you're right.
Yeah, maybe he just got more attrition.
Maybe he was 2-2-1 as well. Maybe.
Right. Well, I know attrition's like the tiebreaker, right? Isn't that the whole idea?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it could have been that. I don't know how the scoring works. I just played.
So, I mean, looking back on the event, obviously, I don't know if we talked about it, but you took on Dead. In fact, maybe why don't you? What was in your list?
So my full list is just a white spam. I just think they're the coolest thing.
But the regiments, not hordes, right?
Or I got 2 hordes and then 2
regiments.
But I should have just taken 3 regiments. I mean, for sure. I was thinking about using them like chaff. But I guess
you already have Rafes in the list for that.
Yeah. So that's why everyone looked at me. He's like, yeah, you should have done that. But one of them actually ended up helping me score because I was able to split them up. So maybe that worked. But honestly, just having them hit harder and just stay having staying power is really the issue that I had. Because you could just pop off a regiment of whites no problem just by looking at them. I feel like. I just had a couple skeletons for unlocks, a Vamp Lord. And as you said earlier, 2 Wraiths, and I just have some Soul Reavers that I painted up, and I love those Soul Reavers. They just hit like a truck. And then I also took some Night Stalkers because I thought Mind Thirst was pretty cool. Wanted to play with it. Just some Butchers and a Terror. Just kind of cobbled it together. It definitely was better than first year's list. Just put it that way.
This guy, Matt, with the allies. Damn shame.
Yeah, not for much longer, mate.
That's right.
Well, depending on the tournament. Tournament.
That's right. Not on my tournament. I've never allowed them.
And people were saying I wouldn't have done the allies, and I think I see why. But not being able
typically
to
undead.
Well, the undead stuff's already so good.
Really need them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the criticism I got, and I was like, yeah, I could see it now that I experienced it.
Matt, you've been holding out on us. That shirt is so sexy.
Thanks, mate.
Our parents indigenous to Australia?
Well, some types are, but I'm sure I've worn this on before.
Oh, I don't know.
But that was actually my leaving move because I have to go now.
Bye.
Power move at the end. Nice to meet you and your avatar, Scott.
Hey, by the way, before you go, big shout out for everybody. Kyle Poole had his baby, so congratulations to Kyle.
Oh, congrats, awesome. Kyle. Yep.
Yeah, we all did a war cry for him.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. So congratulations.
Nice.
I'm sure he came out riding a dinosaur.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right.
Matt, thanks for joining us. Yes, sir.
Hey, nice to meet you.
So Scott, looking back on the event, like, what'd you think? I mean, you come away feeling pumped? You come away feeling like a little yeah?
No, I had more fun. Not that I didn't have fun first year, but I thought this was even more fun than the first time. Felt like, again, I was in a good environment. I brought a good buddy the first year. And then just being able to see everybody, and people just asking how you are. I don't know. It's just a warm place, man. I mean, I just thought it was fun to see everybody. That's kind of the fulfillment part of it. But I just felt like as a player, I've gotten enough practice in where I feel like I know what I'm doing. So this really was, I feel like the real icebreaker into the game, where I'm like, I really dig this game. It's like from the ground up, I feel like it's it's made for competitive play, but it's inviting enough where anyone can really pick it up.
Yeah, I don't know about you. This was a weird weekend for dice for me. I had like just the I don't know. I've never complained about dice, and I'm not complaining now, but they were definitely interesting. I had some eventful opportunities where I need something to go my way, and I just came up short. I had a few snake eyes over the weekend that were like, how about you? Did you avoid the snake eyes bug?
No, well, I was enjoying the snake eyes bug.
Oh, you were
yeah.
It.
I probably got at least 3 throughout the whole weekend, and I got one really crucial one on that last game that I think ended up actually helping me win.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I played 5 games too. I went 3-2. Spoiler. I won my first game. Tough game against David Baker. He had salamanders, and I just got lucky, really, that I was able to reach out and touch some Ember Sprites, and then he had tyrants kind of too close to the Ember Sprites, and so he kind of boxed himself in, and I was able to. I should have said I have Kingdoms of Men, and I have a horde of Pike with the Hammer Measure Force. I have a horde of Shield Wall naked. I have a horde of Fanatics naked. I have 2 units of Knights, one with Helm of the Drunken Ram, one with Makwar's Caterpillar, which that's the last time I'll probably get to use it because it's going to go away. And then I had the Monarch with the Rally 2 and Fly. Rally 2 for Knights and Fly. I had a General on a Winged Beast. I had a Wizard Standard Bearer with the Spell Ward banner, which is awesome. They gave us a free chariot, and then I also had the Captain, which is great because it gives you Master Tactician where you get to redeploy D3 after deployment. And then I had a troop of mounted sergeants. So it was good. Oh, and I had 2 cannons. don't ever forget the cannons. Those are kind of important. Cannons, man. Gotta have the cannons. So but in playtests and stuff, I've been playing this list for 3 or 4 months now, and sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. But when I lose, I like lightning bolt spam. And that's the reason why the Spell Ward banner's in there. Force of Nature has been eating me pretty good with lightning bolt spam. And here's the killer. I spent the points on it, and really, it only mattered in one game, which was the last game. But I think it may have actually won me the game in the sense that stuff that should have died didn't die because you would have whittled it down faster. But my first game against David Baker was a lot of fun. And then I got Chris Krapsnerd. I don't know how I'm going to say that. It's a repressed memory. I'll have to pay a shrink sometime in the future to bring it out of me. But it was an ass whooping. Like it's been a while since I had
none other.
Yeah. I mean, it helps when you don't pay attention. And he's like, oh, by the way, I have Stampede that charges 14 plus D3. He rolls a 3 and he goes, oh, by the way, I have this extra guy for an extra wild charge. I'm like, shit, I had put him 17, a little over 17, and he can charge 18. So I was like, and he just second turn, he just obliterated my line. Luckily, I heard a rumor that there was other players that made the same mistake, so I don't feel so bad.
There we go.
Third game, I played the Ringer, and to play the Ringer, he had 6 units of defense 6. So on one hand, it's the Ringer, shouldn't do that. I don't think. But on the other hand, I deserve it because I play a lots of Siege Breakers. So it's sort of like getting my comeuppance, right? And long story short, second turn, my Knights and stuff, and the Giant charges battle line. And I'm like, unit with Thunder Charge 3, with the Helm of the Drunken Ram off the hill.
Okay, that's a good time.
Thunder Charge 4.
That's a good time.
16 attacks. hitting on threes,
through whatever it wants,
wounding on twos. No, awesome. Infernox, baby, took them right off the table, and I was like, yes,
that's awesome.
This is gonna go great. Then Fanatics and the Giant go into Obsidian Golems. I do 15 wounds. I'm like, life is my oyster.
Yeah. Hey, I mean that's impressive. That's hard to do.
And then I rolled Snake Eyes. And then everything went to shit. So
isn't that so sad?
Next turn, Giant's gone because it's flank charge. 2 other units are charged and gone. And then same turn, I'm like, you need an 11 to pop the Monarch. He's like 11. I'm like, well, he does Inspire. 11 again. I was like, what? What's going on?
Just getting angry.
Got thunder stomped. No, not really.
I was like,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's fun.
I'm dying.
It's fun.
Yeah, so I'm 1 and 2. I'm like, oh my God. So then I rock up Sunday morning and I'm 1 and 2. I'm like, at this point, I'm just playing for fun. And I had 2 of the most, all my games are fun, but this game that morning was amazing. I got to play Matthew Temple's brother Marshall, who was playing Undead as well.
Sweet.
And just such a fun game. And what was fun about it is neither one of us could roll dice to save our lives. It was like, it was comical. I'm like, I'm like 3 turns later, the Monarch are still in combat with a troop of wraiths. I'm like, what the hell? And same thing for him. It's just back and but I was able to squeak that one out. And then I played Thomas Ziegler out of Cleveland, and this is a game that is going to live in infamy. I pulled it out, but I didn't deserve it. He outplayed me. But he shot the crap out of me with lightning bolt, softened me up. Turn 6, he's going to win the game. He's got more units. We're playing Dominate. He's going to win the game. I'm like, I need a turn 7. So we get to turn 7. Okay. And then on turn 7, I need to kill enough of his unit strength. And fortunately for me, I have the Monarch and a regiment of knights that can rear charge Storm Vermin. Okay. And I should be able to take them off. And then a couple more. And then I have another unit of knights with the captain, can do some other stuff. But basically I was able to get him down. And so now I'm winning the game. But he's got a turn 7 bottom, right? And on turn 7 and bottom, he's got my pike in a pickle. He's got guys in the front. He's got slaves in the side, warriors in the side. But that's hitting on 5s, needing 4s to wound. When you get that many attacks, you're probably gonna do some damage. And they're already beat up.
Fine. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, if he kills them and he gets the Monarch, we're back to a draw. Okay. So in the Monarch, he's got one of his mutant rat fiends flank charging the Monarch, who's already got 5 wounds. Now the Monarch is normally a 19 nerve. I've got the captain there, so he's rally 1. So the Monarch is 20. Boost. So I'm like, he's 20, but I'm already got 5 wounds. And I'm getting rear charged by a monster with 10 attacks, hitting on 3 and crushing for days. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a problem, right? And so what will happen is if he kills the pike horde and he kills the Monarch and he overruns the rat fiend into the circle, he wins the game.
And that's it.
So bottom turn 7, he obliterates the pike. I'm like, oh crap, here we go. Which I think it already had 8 or 9 wounds on him.
It sounds like you braced for impact anyway.
I did. And I'm like, oh no. And then he got him. He did not roll well. Let's just be honest.
Okay.
20 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s. He should do a lot of wounds. He ended up needing a 5 twice.
Okay.
And he didn't get it. And I was like, oh my God. So that was I'm like, all right, well, I didn't deserve that. I didn't play very well. I played like garbage and yeah. So it was that
was your last game?
That was my last game. So I was like, what a way to finish the tournament.
Mine was the same way too, where I looked at Mike and I said, hey, it's a win, but it was not because of tactical genius. It was because I just got lucky. That's just the way I felt. But that's also part of the fun.
Good sometimes.
It's what's cool about the game is tactically, if you play tactically, you will have an advantage for sure. But there's that I guess 2%, 5% luck that actually could carry you over that you really always are holding on to, and it's fun. It builds drama. I don't know. I dig it.
Yeah. It was, and Thomas was an amazing opponent. Like, I would probably be, well, he may have been dying inside, but he didn't show it. Like, I actually think he said it best. He's like, win or lose, those are the games you want to play, where you're like, look, man, this is a nice edge, and just a few dice rolls can make, it's like gambling in a way, right? I got $20,000 I can't afford to lose, and I'm going to spin the wheel anyways.
Yeah, well, because you're invested. I mean, it's like you built this army, you've spent a ton of time with it, and then also, you're an hour deep into the game. Yeah, it's fun. There's definitely.
So we finished 3-2. I think we had 20 players, right? So finished 5th. So respectable.
That's not good.
It's all right. It's okay. I would always like to do better, and sure. I'm taking feedback on board. And for Chris Kapsner, more shooting will be required next year. I will be bringing more shooting for him.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing more shooting too.
Yes, yeah, not a lot, just a little bit. Little shooting, just shake it up a little bit. But
something
so you finished 2-1, 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. Where'd you finish overall?
I was pretty low in the totem pole there. I think I was 16th out of 20.
So what? Where did you finish last year?
I was like 18th out of 20, so that's a win in my eyes.
So that's that's progress, right?
Yeah.
How many games did you win last year?
I think I only won 1 against my buddy.
And so now you've won 2 and a tie.
2 and a tie. I'm like
that's like over 100% improvement.
That's exponential growth. Yeah,
dude, it's not linear. It's whoop. It's a hockey stick, my friend.
Yeah,
I mean, so next year, 4-1 probably.
Hey, we'll see. I mean, I'm trying to get 5-0.
Oh,
or
okay,
not 5-0.
I mean, if you're gonna set,
I'm just trying to crush it out.
Yeah. What's next on the docket for you in terms of armies?
Well, I'm thinking Varangur because there's, what I'm trying to do. I really like Drain Life, even though it's not that useful. It's just cool to me. And I
play
feel
ogres
like
then.
What's that? Ogres?
Play ogres.
Do they have drain? They have Drain Life. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I also like Life Leech too. Do they have that?
They do not.
Okay.
But they have Defense 6. So.
Well, I was just looking yesterday, and Defense 6 is actually super nice. But if I could get like some like Reavers, just going to town, just doing whatever they need to do, and then have like some Magus doing that like transfusion kind of stuff. I feel like that's kind of like Drain Life, but more consistent. So I don't know. I was just thinking about that. It's kind of a cool idea.
So Varangur, or maybe even Northern Alliance, maybe.
Yeah, and I have a Northern Alliance. I got 2 boxes actually of Northern Alliance staring at me from my shelf.
What'd you get? Good. By the way, great swag at the event. Did you get anything cool?
Yeah, I got some Night Stalkers. What are they called? The guys riding the scary horses.
Soul Flares.
Soul Flares. Yeah, and I dig those models.
Speed 8, baby. Speed 8.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
You heard it here. If you didn't hear before, Speed 8. Yeah. By the way, if you didn't listen, we did drop our all too early review of the new book this morning at midnight. Awesome. So it's out. If you guys didn't listen to it, you can. We'll be doing a full review probably next week. Okay. So we'll be diving in a little bit harder after. Need to spend some time with it. I need to get some games in this weekend with the new rules. That's what I need to do.
Sure. Yeah. You got to try things out. I mean, it's fun doing that with like Clash of Kings. It's kind of nice, like compared to like, some, games, like any game that really has like, codexes, I guess that's really
absolutely.
But like the fact that everything's updated really makes it cool. So I could just jump right in with a friend.
Yeah. And the new starter box where it's EOD, Empire of Dust, and Ogres with the new book.
Right.
I mean, it's a hell of a deal. If you're going to spend, I'm just making this up, but $40 or $50 on the book, why not just spend twice that and get 2 armies?
Right. 100%.
And then the trick is buy 2 boxes. You take double of one and they take double of the other.
Yeah.
And you each get a book. That's how this works, man. That's how math works.
Yeah. I definitely I'll definitely pick up that starter. It seems pretty useful.
What are you digging on either of those? Well, you were saying maybe Varangur, but are you digging on Ogres or EOD?
I mean, honestly, if I had to choose, it'd probably be EOD between the two. As much
Soulslayer has a super Drain Life.
Okay, well, that's pretty sweet.
Long range.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's always nice too, because anything more than 6, I'll take.
Yeah, 6 is pretty short.
Yeah, it's pretty short. But I feel like if they're all in combat and I'm not using Surge anymore, I might as well just Drain Life. So that was the
idea. Absolutely.
But I probably can't do EOD because I'm already an undead player. So I know they're.
Well, you already have wet. Now you're just gonna add the dry.
Right. So. Yeah, actually, we've been calling them soggy undead.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
So.
Moldy.
Yeah, moldy. I like that.
That's fantastic.
Mildew.
That's fantastic. But we've been talking. Do you have another event on the horizon that you're thinking about?
Well, I mean, some of those guys even last year in Ohio are trying to get me to do Ohio War Kings.
War Kings.
That's like,
shout out War Kings. GT's coming up here in November.
Yeah,
so we'll be chatting with David and Mike at some point.
Yeah, David's who was inviting me. I mean, that's not that far of a drive from Detroit. I mean, that's like a 2.5 hour, 3 hour drive. So that's super doable.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've not made it up there yet. Just timing wise, usually November's kind of rough for me, but it's sounds like it's an amazing event, right? I mean, I definitely have to make it up there at some point. They have a lot of great players in Ohio, and so it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it seems like to me they practice a lot and they meet a lot, and so I mean, even before going to the Michigan GT the first time, I've heard about that group. So I mean, yeah, they're definitely a prolific.
Well, they're old school. I mean, in the sense that they've been in with me since first edition. I mean, they're part of the original the Grognards of Kings of War,
the early birds.
Exactly. Well, we've been playing Kings of War for like 10 years at this point.
Yeah, right.
You know, back when it was a really shitty game. First edition was not fun, but you got to start. Well, yeah, you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
You can't get to like perfect without some iteration.
Well, I know that second edition even it was interesting then for me, and I just remember like reading the rules, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I like it. It seems like really slick. And so once third was out, it's like, well, now's the time. It's all reset. I can just jump in. So I dig the game. I mean, I'm cool jumping in at third edition.
Absolutely. So I mean, so you got War Kings GT possibly in your future. Anything else for next year? Maybe Bug Eater or
yeah, well, I've been talking about it. I mean, I got to buy a new car here. I got a company car. I can't really take it too far past state lines, but if I get a new one, I could probably even make it to your Memphis game. So we can see what's going on.
Awesome. Yeah, we love to have you at Kings of Memphis. We haven't locked a date in, but it's going to be sometime in June.
Sweet.
So to avoid overlapping with the Masters. So
we
had 34, 35 last year. I can't remember. But it was a good number. And I'd like to get us to get it to 50 and have more representation from more states, right?
Yeah.
I remember we had like 8 or 9 states show up, but it'd be nice to have even more.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Oklahoma, if you're listening, we'd like to have you there. Missouri, we'd like to have you there. Iowa, Indiana, Andrew Summers, who doesn't he's too cool for Kings of War now. But if he hears this or someone tells him, we want Andrew Summers at the event as well. So,
well,
and we want you, Scott, you and David and Nathaniel, the whole crew.
Yeah. We were
Michael,
saying,
and Michael too, who missed the event.
Yeah. I would really like to get him. I haven't played with him in a minute. He's just been busy, but yeah, I mean, we were all talking. I mean, even like walking out of the GTs, like, yeah, if we do Memphis, I mean, if we carpool it, that makes it easy. We
100%.
just like,
and Memphis is relatively inexpensive too for your gas prices were pretty shocking to me.
Yeah,
$4 a gallon.
Ridiculous.
I was like,
it's ridiculous.
I haven't paid $4 in a long time. Well, certainly not in Memphis.
Yeah,
I've never paid $4 in Memphis. But,
it's overnight too. Is part of the issue. Like it'll be like $3.90 and then just shoot up to whatever.
Right. Well, I don't know. What else? Anything else you want to chat about?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess we could chat about whatever you want. I mean, I guess the only thing that I'm like in the Mantic world that I'm really looking forward to is Firefight. I've only played it once. I'm looking to get more into that, and then obviously already into Dead Zone and Kings of War. So I think I'm covering all the Mantic bases here with I don't know. I'm just happy I made the switch. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. So you play Enforcers in Dead Zone. Are you going Enforcers in Firefight?
Yeah. Brian and I did a little swap. So I have an Enforcers Pathfinder Dead Zone list, and now I'll probably do an Enforcers list. But
nice.
There's plenty of support. RIW Hobbies here in Livonia has plenty of Firefight on the shelves, so I might just pick up another box too.
And that's because of you and Brian.
Yeah, Brian's been doing a lot of like foot canvassing, just going around, just getting people to play. So yeah, it does work out. He's definitely a big force for that.
That's awesome. Well, awesome. I guess you know what we'll wrap things down for the night. Get you back to your wife and family, and get back to your hobby table where you're painting more models.
Yeah, I'm
ready to working on those Varnagr stuff. So, guys that are listening, guys and girls that are listening. We did put out our episode, All Too Early book review today. We will have more coming in the very, very near future. We'll probably have some discussion on the new withdrawal rules and the changes there. And obviously, one of the things we brought up is the significant changes to cover. Well, significant. Really, they just took cover and they split it into 2 separate rules so they could allocate it to different war engines to differentiate them a little bit. So that's another thing I'm looking forward to getting on the table and try it out and see, does it matter? Does it, I mean, especially like with a cannon, I'd be curious to see, essentially like, I'm just curious about that. Right.
Sure.
It's not ignores cover except for difficult terrain. Now it's got a very specific ignores a certain type of cover. So more coming on there. And, also look for in the near future. We're going to get all the Michigan, Southeast Michigan guys on, which is a relatively new pocket of players that rapidly recruiting. So if you are listening and you are in, I'm going to say this, if you're in mid-Michigan from Lansing to Detroit, you need to get in contact with us. We can make sure we hook you up with the Rick Hall in Lansing and Brian and Scott in Livonia area. We got guys in Michigan and Auburn Hills area. So it's rapidly growing, and that's cool. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's working. Yeah,
it's been a while because I remember, gosh, the start of 2nd edition, which was 2015. So that's 7 years ago. I came up playing a tournament at AFK Games in Lansing and had like 6 people show up. Which, look, you play with who you got. You start with whatever. But it's nice to see, like, all right, we had 6. And then, it keeps going. And by the way, Chuck wanted me to remind you that the Alamo GT is happening at the end of October. So alamogt.com. If you want all the deets, that's the place to go. Also, Chuck Williams is available on Facebook to answer questions, along with the TO Ryan Smith. So Ryan, and in fact, on Facebook, he's not very loud. In person, he's booming. But, he probably has a reasonable tone and level on Facebook because he's not talking. He's typing. Maybe he talks so loud. Maybe he bangs his keyboard. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe when he's probably types in all caps for sure, right?
I've always been told to avoid all caps unless you mean it.
Exactly. Well, Ryan definitely means it. So, well, awesome, Scott. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, really cool to chat with you. Yeah, it was fun.
And we'll definitely be doing a little podcast with you and your crew in the near future. Get to meet some of the new players. And I think it's going to be interesting because this is your first Clash. No, you had Clash of Kings last year would have been your first.
Yeah, this is technically second. Right.
Yeah,
first.
So, but we have a lot of other players that maybe are newer. It'd be interesting to see how you guys are handling, or what do you guys think of the distribution model that they use where it's just one annual book. And then we're going through something special, where there's this combination of all the books into one, which I love right now. Won't give me one book. I take the book, and until we get an FAQ. I mean, I know they forgot to give the Fanatic Investigator the individual rule, so that's obviously going to have to be FAQ'd.
Sure.
But like, I think really significant FAQ issues, I think we're a little ways off. Hopefully, so fingers crossed.
Well, I feel like Kings of War's avoided that in general. To be honest, I've never felt like anything needed to totally be overhauled.
Awesome. Well, I think that's going to do us tonight, Scott. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Thanks. All right, everybody. Until next time, keep countercharging.
All right. See you guys.